Thank you for joining the City of Mission's Pearl Harbor commemoration. Please enjoy this History of Pearl Harbor Memorial Park, along with a spotlight of 3 individuals and their experiences. The remainder of this special history will not be narrated. Our official Pearl Harbor commemoration will begin at 11:53 a.m.
I have the distinguished honor of presenting the President of the United States.
Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
I registered for the draft on the 16th of October, 1940, and I didn't want to be drafted and go into the infantry, so I enlisted in the Air Corps for Hawaii. I thought that would be a 3-year vacation in Hawaii. We went on the Leonard Wood from Charleston down through the canal up to San Francisco. We had a few days there, and then we boarded the San Miguel to go to Hawaii. And the they kept calling for people to go to different units. And finally I found there was an opening in the kitchen for a butcher. So I applied for that and was accepted. I wanted to get in on the flight line. I wanted to get into the real Air Corps. I didn't want to be a butcher, but that was better than what I was doing on a fatigue detail. What I envisioned was palm trees and hula girls and pineapples. Well, but it didn't turn out that way.
The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
I had gone down to the mess hall and I was looking at the menu to see what to take out of the freezer to cut that night when I heard the first plane dive, and I thought it was one of our own. When the first bomb went off, I thought he had crashed. But when the second bomb went off, I said, well, we didn't have two planes to crash. And I opened the screen of the window and looked out. And about that time, the third bomb went off. And I could see all the smoke. And I thought, well, this is for real. And so I started out the back of the mess hall running for cover. Well, our mess hall was just about 2 blocks from the flight line. And it seemed that they were coming right up the flight line. Our planes were parked on the tarmac, wingtip to wingtip, made a good target for the Japanese. 95% of the planes were just ruined. Bulldozers just scraped them off the tarmac. Eucalyptus trees that they had to dive over to make their strafing run. And that's where I ended up around these trees. The planes had started their strafing and they were low enough and they had the canopies open and you could see the grin on their face. They were that low. I was scared. The only thing I knew to do was to run, to try to get away from the flight line. When the attack was over, I got back to on my duty as a butcher. I had to have my rifle in arm's reach anytime I was working. I had been in the service about 13 months and I'd never fired a weapon. They didn't think that the Air Force would be subject to ground training. From the time of Pearl Harbor until I left, things had quieted down a little. We knew we were in war and knew that we were subject to being shipped out, but it kind of quieted down. We went to San Francisco and then we went down to Santa Ana. I was classified for pilot training and I wasn't advancing as fast as they thought I should, so I was eliminated. So then I went back to Santa Ana and was reclassified as a bombardier. When I graduated from a bombardier school, I was commissioned Air Corps Reserve, and I didn't leave the States till May of '45. I was assigned as a bombardier navigator on a crew on a B-25 to go to India. They'd flown the last combat mission the week that I arrived in India. We were getting ready to go down in the Pacific, which we would have been in the invasion of Japan. The word got out right quick that Japan had surrendered. I had enough points to come back home, but before my orders caught up with me, I was sent into China in the C-46s. Our mission in China was to haul the Chinese nationalists to try to head off the communists. My total service time, active and reserve, was 36 years, 6 months, and 12 days. When I retired from the military, I was a lieutenant colonel. That is, I am a lieutenant colonel retired. There was an interesting fact about the Air Force song that it started out as Army Air Corps. Nothing can stop the Army Air Corps. So originally it was Army Air Corps. The song was written back during World War II. It went from the Army Air Corps to the Army Air Force to the Air Force. So I was a member during all that time.
But always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us.
I guess I felt it was my duty to do it. Other people were doing it, and I thought I should do it. My first wife, I was stationed in Albuquerque, and she was with TWA in Albuquerque, and we got married in February of 1944. Well, it was a wartime marriage. People said it wouldn't last. Well, it didn't last for 46 years. We were on a cruise to Alaska, and she had a heart attack and died. After she died, one of her classmates' husband died. I'd known her for several years, and we got married. And we were married about 13 years, and she had some kind of an attack, hemorrhage, and died. So now I've been single since 2008. Betty and I had 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter. The first son was a Green Beret. The second son, he was commissioned regular. The third son went to West Point and he retired. The fourth child was a daughter. She's a pharmacist and lives in Atlanta. I have 7 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. Then I have 2 stepdaughters, 2 step-grandchildren, 3 step-great-grandchildren. We still have our unit, the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association, and there are just 3 of us survivors that attend those meetings. I know someone was taking care of me. Someone had something else for me to do with my life. I think we should just visit the national cemeteries and see all the hospitals, the VA hospitals, and see what the cost of living in a free world is, and how important it is for us to maintain our freedom.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
I have the distinguished
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ron Appletoft, the mayor of Mission, Kansas. I'd like to welcome you to the Pearl Harbor Survivors Remembrance Ceremony on the 80th anniversary of the attack. Like so many other aspects of our lives, COVID-19 has required us to be flexible, and our 2021 remembrance is being held virtually. In a couple of moments, it will be 11:55 a.m., which is 7:55 a.m. Hawaii time. This is the time the attack on Pearl Harbor began on December 7th, 1941. It is now 11:55 a.m. Please join me for a moment of silence. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today, we are gathered to remember and honor Pearl Harbor survivors, as well as other veterans of World War II, for their sacrifices in the fight for freedom. We would also like to recognize veterans and current members of the armed services who are participating virtually with us today. This honor goes to all who have served in the United States Air Force, the United States Army, United States Coast Guard, the United States Marine Corps, and the United States Navy. Two marble benches in the Pearl Harbor Memorial Park feature the names of 56 servicemen who were members of the local chapter of the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association. The names of these fallen comrades will be read, and the tolling of the bell after each name will serve as a tribute to their service.
Here are the names of local Pearl Harbor survivors engraved on the marble benches at the Memorial Park in Mission. Carl Appleberry, John Berry, John Babcock, Joe Brandt, Jimmy Black, Orville Brewer, Jack Carson, Carl Christensen, Eddie Christensen, John Coburn, Raymond Kozak, Jesse Dunnigan, Buddy Durant, Ralph Geringer, James Geitz, Louis Graham, Mose Gross, Gordon Haley, Harold Hall, James Harvey, Harry Helmsing, Charles Hine, Robert Holcomb, James Jackson, Woodrow Jones, Jack Jorgensen, Aman Carr, David Keller, James Kennedy, Fritz Croft, Dorwin Lampkin, Edward Lyons, Stanley Levitt, Donald Lowry, H.P. Monslow, Vernon Moore, Eugene Perkins, Clifford Pitts, Francis Riley, Charles Reicher, Robert Rowlands, Edmund Russell, Edgelif Schmidt, Don Spitzengold, Ken Spry, Vern Stevens, Kenneth Stevens, H.O. Turner, William Tucker, Cliff Walton, Robert Wheeler, William Widener, Richard Williams, Norman Winkler, John Yates, Robert Zillner.
At this time, please join me in a final remembrance of our veterans of World War II in the Pacific Theater as we view a wreath placed in Mission's Pearl Harbor Memorial Park. Thank you for participating in today's virtual ceremony in remembrance of Pearl Harbor and our servicemen. We look forward to commemorating this important historical event in person in the future. Stay tuned for additional memories and resources of the Pearl Harbor Survivors Association.
I am a local girl, grew up in Hawaii, have a Hawaiian mother and a father from Missouri, where I now live. And we were living on a peninsula, which goes into the middle of Pearl Harbor. And we were not military. The military built all the way around us. So being in the harbor, you know, I was used to getting on my bicycle and riding down to the end of the peninsula, and my dog would go with me, and we could see the ships, and we could see Pearl Harbor, the military goings on there. And we looked up in the sky, and just barely above our house and barely above the treetops were these bombers coming over. And you know, I'm 6 years old, so I don't know what kind of planes these are, and I'm not scared because, you know, I'm with my dad, and but they're coming in so low, and I now know what they are. They were the torpedo bombers on their final descent, because the ships are just a matter of a few hundred yards from our house. And the pilots, when they would bank as they'd head closer to the ships, you could see the pilots, you could see their face, you could see the goggles on their eyes. And then pretty soon there's all this oily black smoke and the noise and the smells in the air. So my dad grabs me and runs back in the house, and my baby brother's asleep in his crib, so we get him and mom, and he puts us in the back of our car, and we try to get away from the bombing. And what we run into by that time is Army trucks on the road, and we pull our car off to make room for them. But above Pearl City is an area where sugarcane grows, and it's the Waimano Home Road. So that's where we take our car, and we just stay up there in the sugarcane fields. And pretty soon, more and more of our neighbors are leaving the harbor, and they're coming up. And my dad tries to get some kind of information. And so he takes the dial on the car radio, and what we hear is, all military, get to your bases. This is the real McCoy.
Yes, all right. How did you feel when you were preparing this session, and what was the first memory that came up in your mind?
You know, I'm usually asked, weren't you scared? I wasn't scared till that night. But mostly I'm not scared because I have my baby brother, I have my mom, I have my dad, the people I love the most, we're together. But when the rumors of all our neighbors are around us, and they're saying things like, I bet you they're putting poison gas in the air, and I bet there's an invasion. And by the time we wake up in the morning, we're going to be surrounded by soldiers, and I know they're parachuting in. And so we're all really, really scared. And just about that very same time, from Waipahu, which sits up a little bit high, we can look down to Pearl Harbor. And of course, now it's dark, but all of a sudden the harbor lights up again. And so everybody says, oh, the Japanese have come back just like we knew they would. Took me 50 years to find out what that was, because we don't like to talk about what we saw that night. And if I had you here live, I would ask you, who knows what friendly fire is? And I think all your hands would go up, because what we saw were 6 airplanes off the USS Enterprise that had come into the harbor that night. We shot them down. One crashed a block from my house. And I always thought that it was a part of the December 7th in that firing. Never knew that it was friendly fire. So one of the pilots survived, and I got his story, which was such a gift.
Show one more picture we have right here. This is actually a little bit about civilian life afterwards. And what we have right here is we actually have Dorinda's picture right here.
Here it is. Right, here it is.
And so this is Dorinda and her younger brother. And it is, the caption is Dorinda, Nicholson, and her brother Ishmael with gas masks in their front yard, Pro City Peninsula, 1942.
Thank you for joining us on this remarkable day. We hope this has been a tribute to each and every memory that you've created over the years. Enjoy December 7th in memory of others.